out there. And this seems to have a different personality than what we saw in Canada, where the lone wolf person basically just started shooting as you know, the first course of action. This person seems to have some kind of a political motivation, wants to speak to the Prime Minister, wants the media attention. Even the location seems to be somewhat strategic, knowing that he would get a lot of attention from media.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now is Jazz Shaw, the editor at hotair.com. Hello, Jazz.
Hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you. All right, let's first talk about the breaking news right now. Homeland Security says there's no confirmed threats, you know, against any of the movie theaters that are going to show the interview. Of course, the latest is that the hackers have somehow relayed the message that, that you better watch out. There's going to be 9/11 scale attacks at movie theaters that are going to show the movie that is at the center of the whole, you know, controversy involving North Korea and whatnot. You know, how seriously do you think this needs to be taken?
I have to, you know, you don't want to come out and say, well, that can't happen. But think about Anonymous. When they make threats, you know, a few people show up wearing masks, and they can do tremendous digital destruction. But, you know, unless we're talking about a real threat that's coming from the North Korean government, if that's who did the hacking, I don't know if I'd be that worried about an attack on a movie theater. I think we're much more concerned about the amount of damage they're going to do digitally, and is it going to be to anybody except just Sony?
You know, and I think in a way we're feeding into, which is what I want to talk about with you with regard to, for instance, the hostage taker in Sydney. But I think we're feeding into just what they want. I mean, we're warning everybody, stay away from that movie. We're giving them publicity for issuing the threat, and even Homeland Security is weighing in on it right now. But the fact of the matter is, you know, you never know. You can never say never. However, it's I guess we're just we're doing what they want to do. They're driving the narrative.
They are driving the narrative, and something I wrote today is that, you know, I'm again not so much an attack, somebody going in and blowing up a theater or something like that, but if they can get Sony to pull a film, and apparently they're already not going to release it in Asia. They're claiming that's not related, but that sounds a little unlikely to me, considering
well,
the money involved.
Also, by the way, Jazz, it was just announced that some of the stars are not going to be doing as much PR for the movie, I guess, out of fear.
Right, right. And if they can get that sort of a response, if they can get them to go underground, if they could, in theory, get a major studio to pull production, then what's the next step? Is somebody in the background asking for large amounts of cash? Are there negotiations going on? This could be a whole new realm of cyber terror. You don't have to take a person hostage, like we're seeing with ISIS with the animals, and cutting their head off, hit them where it really hurts, threaten them in their wallet, and make money. I mean, it's very worrying, but I think in a new kind of 21st century way.
No, that's a very good point, and let's hope it doesn't come to that. But you know, getting now to the Sydney situation, as I was watching the BBC, and they were the first to really cover this when it was happening, at least for the first several hours. I was watching with a couple of people, and one of the things I said was, you know, I'm glued to the set, but why are we watching this? Why are we covering it? What if they didn't cover it and nobody knew? You know, and this guy didn't know that the whole terrorist world was watching him and seeing that flag up there and his demands and everything. And I guess that might be the best way, but isn't that totally unrealistic?
I think the media coverage is always necessary, but if we're smart, it needs to be gauged. We're feeding a Pavlovian response here. And just to make it clear, when I first saw the first headlines break on Sunday evening, my wife had walked into the room. Things were scattered. There were no details at all. And she said, "What's happening?" And I said, "I don't know. From the sound of it, maybe an ISIS column has shown up in Sydney, Australia, which would be, you know, unprecedented and certainly, you know, would justify a tremendous amount of coverage." But right, as it went on and we got more details, I went on Twitter and actually was chastised by quite a few people when, after about 45 minutes or so, I went and wrote to some of my friends and said, "Are we really talking about one guy with a shotgun and a chocolate shop with 3 square yards of black cloth?" Because no, that is giving him exactly what they want, and even worse, anybody else who was thinking, well, maybe I could do something to help out ISIS. Wow, what a showstopper. This guy went in and shut down the global media with a shotgun and a blanket. And it doesn't seem justified. Maybe the coverage at that point, if we were smart, would have been to say, hey, we got a hostage situation going on, and we'll get back to you later, give a couple of updates, and then when it was resolved, show some footage, and then the person's already dead. That might be a lot better, but that's not something you can enforce. That would take responsibility on the media's part. But no, this is,
and that would have to be,
again, it's a Pavlovian response, you know?
Yes, and that kind of a non-response, if you will, or watered down response in reporting would almost have to be universally agreed to, or at least among the major, news carriers and networks. Otherwise, they're playing for ratings, and they'll fear, well, if we're doing it, we're not doing it, but they are. They're going to get all the ratings, and that's, I guess, what drives it.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Maybe a few of the people watching might be as old as me and remember back to a song called "Dirty Money," from was that the '80s, I think, and you're feeding into this.
Dirty was it dirty?
Response.
Was that not dirty? Was that not dirty laundry?
Dirty laundry. I'm sorry. Just I'm very old. These things.
See, I'm as old as you. There you go.
Exactly.
Hey, Jazz,
one of the guys
great to talk to you.
Right. So.
Yep. Great to talk to you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
All right, Jazz Shaw of hotair.com. And folks, Andy McCarthy's up next. But first, do you suffer from back pain? Who doesn't, in one way or another? Our Max to Health moment shows you the best ways to prevent back pains and more. And we'll be right back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kiran Patel. I'm an interventional pain management specialist and an anesthesiologist. It's estimated that at any given time, about 31 million Americans suffer from low back pain. Severe low back pain that limits you from your daily activities is certainly reason that you should see a healthcare provider. Any back pain that's associated with lower extremity weakness or numbness, if there is any history of trauma related to the onset of back pain, if there is any fever associated, any history of cancer, any history of low back pain in the past, but now this new pain that you're experiencing is different from that typical pain. These are all reasons in which you should definitely see a healthcare provider.